If there was anything that we learned from the Bournemouth game last weekend, is that our squad depth, the strength of it, is just not there. And that's one thing that we've got to fix when the January transfer window opens in just over 5 weeks' time. For me, the two essentials are a striker and another centre-back. Nicholas Füllkrug was woeful against Bournemouth, and Max Kilman wasn't really much better. We've got Dinos, Lucas Paqueta, possibly Somerville returning to the lineup against Liverpool this weekend, and that will surely strengthen our starting 11. But for me, the players that they will replace are going to be Igor, Kilman, should be Kilman, and Guilherme from last weekend's starting lineup against Bournemouth. And then that means we'll revert to a 4-2-3-1. But what the game against Bournemouth highlighted is that the strength in depth is really, really lacking. When we're missing players through injury or suspension, we struggle beyond our starting 11, save for perhaps another 2 or 3 players on top of that starting 11. For example, Kyle Walker-Peters and for me, Songutu Magasa are decent players. And then maybe there might be another 1 or 2 beyond them. But players like Kilman, Igor, Füllkrug, Guilherme, I'm sorry, but they're just not up to it. And it kind of surprises me that the rumours are that Crystal Palace are supposedly eyeing up Max Kilman as a possible replacement for Mark Guehi when he leaves the club next summer. Really? So the January transfer window is absolutely vital for West Ham. We must get ourselves, at the very least, 2 players, at the very least, to add to this squad. With the search, as I've said, being a centre-back and a striker. Surely they've got to be high on the list of transfer priorities. I still don't buy into us targeting a keeper and other midfielders in this January window. Next summer, maybe, sure. But the massive need right now is a central defender and a striker. Even more so if we're likely to see the departure of 1 or 2 players in January from the club. Right, if you're new to the channel, or if you watched the West Ham Voice before, but yet to become a subscriber, a QR code has just appeared in the top corner. At the end of the show, all you got to do is click on that QR code. It takes you straight to the subscription page. Subscription is free. And if you like what you've seen, if you like what you've heard, please do hit the like button after the show, because that elevates the channel and the algorithms of YouTube. And if you really like the channel, you can hit the hype button as well underneath the video. That allows you to promote the video that you've been watching to other people. And if you're feeling really generous, the West Ham Voice does have a membership scheme which offers a little bit more content exclusive to members. $1.99 a month is for that membership scheme, and all the money that's raised goes to Prostate Cancer UK. And so far to date, we've raised £400. So thank you for that. They've already received £340. So another 80 or 60 pounds, I can't remember, I need to check, is winging its way to them. So thank you for that. Right, let's get back on it. So there's continuous talk that Nicholas Füllkrug is going to be leaving, is going to be returning to Germany this January. And frankly, I would gladly show him the door. His performance against Bournemouth was woeful. Sure, he's only just come back from injury, but sometimes you've got to look at the player's demeanour, the player's approach, his attitude to work, to see whether he's remotely interested in putting in a shift or not. And to be quite honest with you, and to many of the fans that were there at the game, he didn't look like he was that bothered. Look, if he scores the winning goal against Liverpool this coming weekend, I will gladly take that criticism back. But I can't see him hardly touching the ball, let alone scoring. And to be fair, Max Kilman was no better. He was at fault for both of Bournemouth's goals at the weekend. And it says a lot about how bad Max Kilman is when fans are awaiting the return of Dinos, who was booed every time he came off the subs bench last season. And now the fans can't wait for his return. So who are we targeting? There's an awful lot of names being bandied around. Now, as for strikers, we still are being linked to Joshua Zirkzee from Man United. He's still being mentioned, but his performance against Man United the other night against Everton will not inspire many West Ham fans to insist on a transfer happening, even if it is on a short-term loan deal. AC Milan misfit Santiago Jimenez is also continuing to be touted as a possible choice, but I think AC Milan will want us to buy him rather than being able to loan him. Then, according to Turkish media, I don't know why Turkish media, but according to Turkish media, we're chasing former Spurs striker Troy Parrot, who is now at AZ Alkmaar in the Netherlands. And guess who his agent is? Yeah, you've guessed it in one, Will Sorthouse. No wonder we're being linked to him. When will we learn to steer clear of Sorthouse-linked strikers? Having said that, Callum Wilson is beginning to prove us all wrong, isn't he? Long may that remain, and please do not get injured, Callum, until at least the window opens, but even beyond that. So maybe, just maybe, Parrot isn't your typical clapped-out striker that we have had through Sorthouse in the past. At 23, he's still got a long way to go in his career. He only made 4 appearances for Spurs senior team, and since then he's had loan spells at Millwall, MK Dons, Ipswich, Preston, to name but a few, before moving on a permanent basis to Alkmaar in 2024. In 62 appearances for the Dutch club, he has scored 34 goals with 7 assists, and he's also made 33 appearances for Ireland, scoring 10 goals. He's got a contract with Alkmaar till 2029. He's valued at between 15 to 20 million pounds, but apparently Alkmaar want 26 million pounds for him. A little steep, but he is hot property at the moment. But is he the typical striker that fits into a Nuno setup? Well, he's not a perfect match. He's best used as a straight centre forward who finishes chances on the break or from crosses, but he's not a creative striker. He's more of a deep lines or a deep line striker. He's a goal poacher. Parrot has been scoring regularly for his club and his country and has shown that he can be a real finisher in big moments. He's a natural goal scorer who times his runs in the box well. And Nuno likes his team to be compact and hit opponents in a counter-attack. And that means strikers have to be agile, physical and quick. Now, if we can create quick chances through the likes of Somerville, Paqueta and Bowen, then perhaps Parrot would be a good fit. Like I've said, Parrot is not a playmaker. He doesn't drop deep to pick up the ball, so he doesn't create chances. He doesn't get other players involved in the game. He's just a predator, a goal poacher in the box. So maybe a striker like him in a team like West Ham might not be the perfect match. But having said that, he would thrive in a 4-2-3-1 or a 3-4-2-1 formation, which is how we currently play under Nuno. But perhaps for me, Max Hahn is finding players who might fit Nuno's system much better. Especially, he's been looking at the Belgian league, and it's a Canadian with the surname David, no, not Jonathan, but Promise David, that Max Hahn has identified. Hahn has been extremely busy of late, and he is fast gaining an awful lot of say at West Ham. He was brought to the club by Tim Steiden as head of technical recruitment and analysis, and many fans thought that with Steiden's departure and the arrival of Potter with his wingman Carl Macaulay, that Hahn's days at the club would be numbered. But he's still here, and perhaps under Nuno will finally get the chance to really influence our transfer business. And he has made a striker recommendation to Nuno who could completely change and revolutionise our striker setup at the club. I've mentioned his name already. Promise David, Canadian striker, could be a perfect fit for Nuno and the way that Nuno sets his team up to play. David's profile, a tall, powerful centre forward who's attracted an awful lot of interest from clubs given his prolific goal-scoring record in the Belgian Pro League. He moved to Union Saint-Gilloise in the summer of 2024. Gilloise, they're cigarettes, aren't they? And in 60 appearances has scored 32 goals with 5 assists. He can act as a focal point for direct play, and he can also be a target for crosses and set pieces. At 6'5", he's got great aerial dominance and is great at winning aerial duels to lay the ball off for his teammates to get into the game. He's a striker who can get into dangerous goal-scoring opportunities and has a very high conversion rate. He's not only a link-up player, but a goal poacher, so he can create as well as finish chances. Now, David has clear potential. The combination of physique, his excellent goal poaching finishing, continues to improve in the Belgian league, with many now suggesting that he's actually ready for a more challenging league. West Ham have apparently made an inquiry about the player's availability, and it is thought that despite USG paying a mere 600,000 euros for him, they might demand as much as 13 million euros for his release. A very tidy profit in just over a year. But to be honest with you, that's half the money that Alkmaar are apparently asking for Troy Parrot. Look, Promise David is not the finished article. He needs to polish up on a lot of his technique, but the raw talent is already there, and he can become one of the next big strikers in Europe. As far as central defenders are concerned, we haven't moved much further away from the links to Charlie Creswell and more recently, Lecce's under-21 Portuguese international, Tiago Gabriel. Apparently, we've made a bid of £16 million for the player, and that's despite the window not yet being open for another 5 weeks. Now, Lecce are reported to want £22 million for him. The 20-year-old central defender only joined the Italian club just under a year ago for a mere €1 million from Portuguese club Estrela Amadora. So if this transfer rumour is true, Lecce would be another club that will profit immensely on this player if he were to be sold. Tiago Gabriel looks like a promising tactical and physical fit for Nuno's West Ham, but he would be probably a mid-term solution rather than an instant fix. He's tall, ball playing. He's a tall, ball-playing centre-back. His profile matches several of Nuno's defensive priorities: size, pace, over short distances, comfortable on the ball, and so on. Tiago's scouting data shows good aerial presence, progressive passing, and promising defensive metrics for a young centre-back, which suits a coach who wants to defend his defenders to initiate attacks and win defensive duels. He would certainly provide aerial dominance, with Dinos being the only other centre-back that we have at the club who is good in the air. If West Ham wants a longer-term signing who can grow into Nuno's system, Tiago is a sensible target, but he should not be the only defensive reinforcement. Perhaps pairing him with an experienced Premier League proven centre-back and giving Tiago just minutes rather than starting him from the start might get the best out of him rather than throwing him at the deep end. And he could be a good backup to Todibo and Dinos. Now, that might not be a bad thing. Now, there are many other transfer links, many related to players in midfield or players who simply just don't seem to be an improvement on what we currently have. For example, there's the rumour that we're in for Norwich City striker Josh Sargent, who has not scored a goal for his struggling club since August. Now, some would say that this season has been rather barren for Sargent, with only 5 goals in 16 appearances. But this season is still young, and his past goal-scoring record for the club isn't that shabby. Look, he's scored 54 goals with 14 assists in 150 appearances for Norwich, and he's also a US international. So his goal-scoring record may be barren at the moment, but overall, it isn't that bad. Then there's the story that we're after Bochum's 19-year-old defensive midfielder, Kajetan Lenz, who, despite his boyhood club languishing in Bundesliga 2, the teenager himself is having yet another stellar season and catching the attention of many potential suitors. Look, indeed, his agent has come out and said that he's gone on record to say that many clubs, both in Germany and in Europe, have contacted him about Lenz's availability, but that the player himself is focused on getting his boyhood club out of trouble in Bundesliga 2. Whilst it's kind of fantastic for West Ham to be looking ahead for the future with potentially exciting young signings, the need, as usual, is the here and now. The January transfer window isn't necessarily to plan for the long term, but to actually improve on what we need right now. And to be honest, how much better is Lens than our own academy talents, like the likes of, we've got Earthy, Mohamedou Kante, even Preston Fearon. Then there are persistent rumours that we're planning to sign fullbacks in January. Now, whilst I accept that losing Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Malik Diouf for an extended period during AFCON is going to be a blow, I'm not so sure that we're going to be compensating in buying a fullback in January, unless, of course, that fullback is versatile enough to play in other positions like central defence. Now, there are two fullbacks in particular that have been mentioned recently. Sacha Boey of Bayern Munich is an out-and-out right back. He has had, on an occasion, played at left back 7 times, in midfield 3 times, but he certainly doesn't come across as a versatile enough defender to play in central defence, which is where we need cover more. Boey has been a constant presence in the Bayern Munich side so far this season. Not always a starter, but he's been involved in almost every single game. And he's still got 2.5 years remaining on his contract at the German club. I'm not sure about that one. But the one that's interesting and has come back again, which is a link from the past, is that of Arnau Martinez. He's a very different prospect altogether. Now, we've been linked to the versatile defender several times before. There was a lot of talk about the under-21 Spanish defender leaving the club last season, but Girona, they were clever. They got the player to sign an extended contract until 2027, which killed off those rumours. But the rumours are back. He's primarily a right back, but he can also play at centre back as well. The 22-year-old defender has progressed through the Girona youth ranks and is considered an outsider to make the senior Spanish squad. He's a dependable fullback with athleticism that would suit Nuno's counter-attacking style perfectly. And given his versatility, there may be something in this link. And apparently, he's another player that Max Hahn has identified. Look, he's valued at around 15 million, but it could be a shrewd acquisition for the now and for the future. That's it. There are plenty of other stories coming up, I'm sure. Plenty of other rumours. We're 5 weeks away from when the window opens, so we're going to get a barrage of transfer rumours, transfer links. These are the best ones out there at the moment. Am I certain of any of them? Oh, I'd like to think that Promise David and Arnau Martinez are 2 players that we could target. They seem to be within our price range. They seem to be good young players. They're both, I think, Martinez is 22. Promise David is only 23 or 24. So they're young enough. They've been demonstrating that their capability in the leagues that they're currently playing in, and maybe they're both ready for a step up. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. Really much appreciated. Do hit the like button. Do hit the subscribe button and all that sort of stuff. And I'll be back again soon with another show.